Now, let's take a look at some of the strangle mechanics that you're going to be using when you find yourself in a crucifix, okay? Most of the work that we're focusing on is involving our partner belly up, okay, with us belly up. We're going to talk about the finishes from when we're both belly down also, but they're similar and actually in some ways a little bit easier. So what do we want to do? Well, we got two fundamental strangles from the back. One is a one-arm version of the rear strangle, which we often call the garrote. Okay, and the other is a classic figure 4 rear naked choke, rear naked strangle from the back. In terms of mechanics, move your body this way. Nope. Yep. Oh, good. Here we go. Sorry, from me. So once we're here, all right, we're going to talk in a moment about getting underneath. But once you get to here, all right, one thing that we want to be focused on is even if Chris has got his head down, when we work our arm through underneath and you're working the garrote, you don't even need your arm to be as deep through as elbow to chin. Okay, so lift up a little bit here just so I can get through. Here, you don't have to be getting your arm super deep. And actually, this is really important because if you do try to get your arm too deep, you can loosen the strangle here where there's no contact on my right, between my bicep and Chris's carotid on the right side, because my shoulder is pushing his head a little bit out of the way here. So once we get here, if I'm using my right shoulder trying to get my elbow through, I actually make the strangle a little bit looser. So what we really want to do is work our hand through, okay, once we get into this position, and just place our hand over our partner's shoulder. Okay, this is often enough. If Chris leaves his chin where he is, I'll simply take my elbow and draw it back over his shoulder. The right hand is anchored to the deltoid here, and I'll just pull and he'll strangle here. A lot of times it'll be pretty uncomfortable because the forearm ends up touching the trachea. What you'll often find is as you start to do this, your partner will turn his chin into the crook of your elbow. Once you get to this position now, you're kind of in a true garrote. The idea is that we're focusing on pulling our right elbow back. We've got the same sort of mechanic, but we're really looking at now a strangle rather than a kind of a choke where it's across the trachea. Okay. The other situation that you're going to find yourself in is one where you're beginning with a one-handed strangle, and for instance, your partner is hitting a strong bridge in order to alleviate some of the pressure here. Okay. Just rotate a little bit this way. When we feel this happening, as our partner begins to tilt, you'll have a chance to release your partner's top arm, come back, and punch your arm through for a full strangle. When you do this, it's very important when you work your strangle from the crucifix, as when you work your strangle from the back position, you're not going to take your arm through to grab your bicep, okay? We're going to use a shorter method where we simply take our left hand, cover our right, like where your watch would be, and then punch through from here. Now, this is a little bit unusual because you don't have lower body control at all. You only have control over your partner's far arm. But the good news is that when your head comes in, even if Chris goes to move his lower body around and starts to adjust, we have the ability to finish with the strangle. So you won't often go directly into a rear strangle, but it is possible, especially when your partner starts bridging and moving around to defend the garrote. Another key detail here is when we're working this strangle, if we feel like our partner is hiding their chin towards this side, we'll often kind of crunch our body up in order to be able to compress this side and move his head up a bit. Now from here, we can work the arm through. At this point, I have the hand on the outside of his shoulder. You can see it's a little uncomfortable for him, like if I cut back this way. So you'll almost always get a response where your partner turns the chin to the inside. That's fine. They actually place themselves in a situation where you have double coverage. You've got your forearm on the near side and then your bicep on the opposite side here. Take care that as you're working here, you keep your head by your partner's head. Okay, we don't want to be with our head too far away. Ideally, you want to have your chin over your hand. Now from here, you have one arm strangles. Okay. Or if your partner starts bridging and turning into you, okay, which often happens here, we simply stay with our head position and arm position. We're going to release our partner's arm, come through, and punch into the strangle. Even if you don't have the strangle at the beginning, when Chris goes to move around from here, we focus on keeping the trapped arm. He turns, he wants to come up to his knees. He finds that it's very, very difficult to defend from here, okay? So we have a one-arm version and a two-arm version of the strangle. Now, the big question is, how are you going to get your hand underneath your partner's chin? One of the major virtues, as we've talked about, of the crucifix is that your partner doesn't have any defensive hands. So what you're going to encounter is a lot of resistance with your partner's chin burying into the side of their shoulder. Okay, sometimes it's the near shoulder, sometimes the far shoulder. Sometimes they get their shoulder, their chin down and raise their shoulder, shrugging. And so being able to get through this position is really important. We have kind of two basic methods, all right? The first is just sit here, please, facing the camera on your butt. Yep. The first method is one that Mr. Danaher likes to call the Phoenix Eye. And it's a little tongue-in-cheek, but the idea is that you're taking your thumb and you're putting it here inside the line of your, kind of inside the crook of your first knuckle, inside your index knuckle here. We use this also from like rear strangle attacks when we're on the back. And critically, you're not trying to go through over your partner's shoulder, okay? What we do is we take this structure and we put it back behind our partner's ear below their jaw. So even as Chris kind of shrugs a little bit, I can work this in and it cuts through underneath, okay, like a wedge that's chopping wood. You have the sharp edge, kind of this pointy side that goes first, and then it traces a line through, okay? So this is one method you'll use. Okay, the other method is one that Gordon likes to use this from rear strangles as well, where if you can't get through underneath, you simply place your hand here. You put the back of your hand with your palm kind of facing out, and you flick your partner's chin up. So even as Chris goes to keep his chin down here, I use this to lift a little bit and then take a little bit of real estate as his chin comes back down. So he has his chin in. We're going to place like our wristwatch next to our partner's jaw, and then we rotate our hand. Obviously, you need some tension pulling up. You can't just do this. But as Chris goes to bring his chin down here, I'm going to pull up with the hand, and then we flick just a bit to get to, like just the edge of our wrist underneath. And then now from here, you can work your hand in. So regardless of which method you use, when you're here, you're focused on 1, leg connection, 2, arm control, 3, keeping your chest in the same direction as your partner. And now from here, we're facing a resisting partner. We either use this Phoenix Eye method where we go from behind our partner's ear underneath, not that fun for your partner, into the strangle. Or if they're really defensive and you feel like that's not working, it's almost like a crossface that comes through here so that your back of your hand goes under your partner's chin. Now from here, we just give a little flick and that puts just the thumb underneath the chin. And then from here, you can work your hand in. You have one arm strangles here, or if your partner hits a strong bridge and is resisting a lot, especially when they're turning into you, that's going to give you an opportunity to take the hand out, switch to a rear strangle, and from here, you're ready to finish, okay? So these are going to be the primary methods you're going to be using to strangle your partner when you're in the back, working on a crucifix.